Hello and welcome to my video in what areas can the EU legislate. We have looked at how laws are made, who is involved and how they are enforced. But now let's focus on what policy areas the EU can have a say on. One big point of debate before the referendum was about how the UK had transferred part of its national sovereignty to EU institutions. This caused particular concern amongst the Leave campaigners who worried about what percentage of laws came directly from Brussels, whether EU membership eroded our ability to pass laws and policies, and whether we were still in control to protect our national interests. So can the EU legislate and get involved in everything and anything? Well, the answer is no. There are in fact rules and limits. The EU can only act in the specific policy areas which are clearly laid down in Articles 2 to 6 of the Treaty of the Functioning of the European Union. There is a select number of areas whereby the EU has exclusive competence. This means the EU can act alone when legislating and adopting laws about the customs union, the euro monetary policy, competition rules, and common commercial policy. In most areas, there is a shared responsibility between the EU and member states. These include the internal market, the environment, agriculture, consumer protection, and transport. In these areas, member states can act only if the EU has decided not to exercise its competence. Obviously, member states cannot enact laws that conflict with EU laws and principles. In areas of shared responsibility, the EU is also subject to two fundamental principles, which are subsidiarity and proportionality. The principle of subsidiarity means that the EU may only act if the objective of the action cannot be sufficiently achieved by member states and is better achieved at EU level. The principle of proportionality means the EU cannot go beyond what is necessary to achieve the objective set out in the treaties. In other areas, the EU has the competence to carry out actions to support, coordinate or supplement the actions of the member states in areas such as tourism, culture and civil protection. However, the EU cannot adopt acts which involve harmonisation of member states' laws. So to recap, the EU can only act in a particular area if the treaty gives it the competence to do so, and if they are showing the responsibility, they must obey the two fundamental principles of subsidiarity and proportionality. In fact, in a recent white paper, the government has conceded that the British Parliament has been sovereign throughout the UK's EU membership, but it is now time for the UK to control its own laws. It reaffirms Theresa May's announcement that there will be a Great Repeal Bill to revoke the 1972 European Communities Act, which was introduced to give supremacy to EU law over UK law. Under this bill, EU laws will be converted into domestic law. Ministers will then be able to maintain, revoke or amend the EU law as they see fit. Unravelling this complex and multifaceted legal framework where the UK and EU-derived law are so inherently intertwined will not be a straightforward process. It will be interesting to see what laws are scrapped, partially repealed, watered down and tweaked, and whether it increases our rights and protection, or actually leaves them in a far worse state. Thanks for listening. Hope to see you soon.